Sirach 2 and 12. Woe be the fearful hearts and the faint hands and the sinners that go two ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not. Therefore shall he not be defended. Woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? Kol halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakaha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000, which are 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel to be the new government here on earth, which primarily make up the Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans, the tabernacle of David, Amos 9 and 11. All right, that they are the temple. Okay, the temple itself are the lively stones, the 12,000 men, the judges, under the authority of who the world fraudulently and falsely called JC, who are coming back only for his elect of his people. Not all people, as the Christians try to claim. And to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, the rest of Israel that is yet to be gathered, Israel has not been gathered yet, that are scattered among the heathen, that have the appearance of the heathen, and to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the great millstone, coming at you with a brutal lesson of truth. You can't make these things up. This is so heavy because I'm going to play a video that I just got from my professor. You can't make these things up, because before, when I was watching this video with which is hard to watch, with Kanye, and it kind of looks like it could be AI, all right, but nevertheless it's a ritual humiliation, the apology to the fraudulent people who are claiming to be the people and not. And while I'm putting together these scriptures and these things, I get a message, and I look down and it says replacement theory, which I'm going to make the title of this video, Lord's Will. And I look down, it's from my longtime friend and brother, all right, who has definitely supported the ministry and supported me, all right, and how the Lord will put people in your life and remove people from your life, all right, because I was pondering on this this person who got really close to me, and through the Spirit I knew she was an Israelite through the Spirit, all right, but she's one of them people. She's an Amalekite, and we got a little too close, and though nothing never physically happened, it probably would have, but the Lord removed her from my life, all right, because somehow she found out about, what I do, and she couldn't, so it is what it is. The Lord did that. The Lord did that, because it's like every week I was being invited to the Shabbat, and things were just getting out of hand, all right, and the Lord removed that from my life, and I'm glad He did, all right. But all that being said, Kanye here hasn't the faith, and he lost favor, because we're in a time when Amalek is being completely and utterly exposed to the highest. Now is not the time to give up hope. All right. This is Sirach 6 and 8, and it says, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And Esau is at war with himself. He's at war religiously, and he's at war economically. He's at war what's the word I'm looking for? Politically. MAGA is splitting. Nick Fuentes is standing up, and the new MAGA is anti-Israeli. They just passed the law, 20 states and so that means some of these states are going to reverse those laws because, you know, some of those MAGA people are part of those 20 states. And what Nick Fuentes has done is he's rekindled the same way I've played those videos of the rabbis pointing out the fact that Western Christianity is Edom, is Esav. Now, Nick Fuentes is firing back with replacement theory and saying that white Christianity, because that's what the right side is really about. White male Christianity dominance, making the patriarchy them. So this is an Edomite problem. Jake, stay out of it. Have faith and just sit back and watch your power work, because it tells you right here in Mark 3:23, and he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan shall rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. All right. So Esau is going to war with each other. And Jake, you're going to be caught in the crossfire of it. And the rest of you heathens, just like that Indian guy, Souza, just found out how racist the MAGA people are that he's been supporting. And especially they used his face in his speech to say the things that they couldn't, because they put another brown face out there to attack so-called black people. And so they have people like that. But now he's learning that MAGA don't like Indians either, because they lost so heavily, you know, in this little election that they had. And the things that were stated about, well, you know, we would never vote for you. You're an Indian. You're brown. Get the hell out of our country. That is the true sentiment of people like Nick Fuentes and the new splintered MAGA party. Because one thing that Trump did was he emboldened Esau Edom to not hide his racism anymore. And so they're not. Okay? Which I like it that way. I really do. Because, you know, the guy who's wants to have coffee with you and have a drink with you and shake your hand, but as soon as you're not there, he's calling you a nigger and a spick, you know? Those people spurting out those, because they love to use fraudulent and false statistics and numbers. That's their favorite thing to go to, that per capita shit. Stop playing with numbers. And for the record, you know, there are way more so-called Negroes than 13% of the population. That's a lie that they've been holding on to that lie for a long time. Okay. This is, let me go ahead and play this video. Just play it in the background, but this is Nick Fuentes speaking, and this is off of Instagram.
A lot of Christians have this idea that, you know, we all read the Bible. You know, the Jews are the Old Testament, we're the New Testament. Mm-hmm. But the New Testament, the relationship between the New Testament and the Old Testament, it's not a sequel. The New Testament and the theology in it replaces the theology of the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. So in the Old Testament, you have a religion that's based on the people of Israel. They make sacrifices at the temple. Mm-hmm. They have rabbis. They have the law. Mm-hmm. But when Jesus arrives, he changes everything, because he becomes the law. We say that he is the law. The law is embodied in him. Right. So the Jews are saying, well, the law of Moses says, you have to stone this woman. And he says, well, I'm the law. He says, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. He completes and fulfills and perfects the law. He personifies the law. So in the same way that God gave Moses the 10 Commandments in the Ark of the Covenant, God gave us the law through Mary. We see Mary as the new Ark of the Covenant. We see Jesus as the new 10 Commandments. She carried him in her womb, just like the Ark carried the Old Testament. He is the law. He fulfills the law, just like the Old Testament was the law. And then, when Jesus dies on the cross, the veil is torn inside the temple. And within a generation, the temple itself is destroyed. You know, Charles talk about the temple. The temple itself is destroyed because Jesus becomes the new temple. There's no need for a temple. There's no need for animal sacrifices. he becomes the sacrifice. So in the Old Testament, they're sacrificing animals. They talk about the red heifer. They're trying to do that. God gives us a more perfect sacrifice. He offers up himself. And so this is where a lot of the Protestants say, well, we need to support Israel because the Bible says those who bless Israel will be blessed. But Israel, they're talking about, that's in the book of Genesis. And the book of Genesis is talking about what is Israel in the Old Testament and the first covenant that God makes with the Jewish people. When Jesus comes, just like everything else, Israel's transformed. The laws changed, the priesthood has changed, the temple has changed, and Israel changes. What was the family and the race becomes the body of Christ. He says there is neither Jew nor Gentile. The new Israel.
So now you heard it. So, and he's talking to the Hodge twins. So that's complete, and I'm sick of them because they just being Kunalites, man, because I know they seen the Hebrew videos. So just like Kanye, now they're shifting to the Christian side, all right? And they're all Edomites. So we're going to touch on some of the points. First of all, the name is Yahushua, not Jesus. There is no letter J in ancient Hebrew. There was no letter J even when the Lord was walking the earth. That sound did not exist in the earth. The letter J was created, and this is easy information to look. This is fact. This is factual information that cannot be refuted. The letter J wasn't even created or spoken until 1534. It wasn't actually printed into books and things of that nature until 100 years after that. That's why in the King James 1611 Bible and other Bibles printed before and around that time, the letter J wasn't there. All right. So that's that's one lie right there. There is no replacement theory. The law was not done away with. It tells you in the book of Romans 7:1. Know ye not, brethren, I speak for them that know the law, how the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth. The law is over you as long as you live. The law was not done away with. The Lord, when he came to fulfill the law, means he came to fulfill it, to ensure that it is done. The law is your schoolmaster. The law is how you please the Lord. If the law is done away with, then that means that you can murder, you can commit adultery, you can steal. The law is not done away with. That is a Christian lie. All right, which they push to try to excuse the billions of gallons of blood that they've shed throughout the world, colonizing and taking over and lying and pushing these lies that Nick Fuentes is speaking about. Okay, then he said that now the law is for everyone, that the Lord became the perfect thing. There's no difference between Jew or Gentile. Well, we've broken down the fact that within Christianity, they deny that there are two sets of or they don't teach that it's two sets of Gentiles, all right? And that there's the Israelite foreigners that became Gentiles. Those will be your Hellenists. They don't teach. They go from the Babylonian captivity straight to Rome. They leave out the Grecian captivity. That's why it says there's no difference between Greek nor Jew. Acts 6:1 tells you. It reads like this. And in those days, when the number of the disciples were multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews because their widows were neglected in the daily administration. Those Grecians were, it tells you when you look that word up, all right? That word is Hellenist or Hellenistas, all right? And when you look up what that word means, it told you there was a Greek-speaking Jew. So what they're not telling you is that these Gentiles were Greek-speaking Israelites having issues with their own people, other Hebrews. And the Hebrews, the Israelites that knew that they were Israelites were very stuck up and being bougie. Sedity, as they say, as often said here in Chicago. Okay? And that's all it was. Okay? Even among our own people, if you meet people from the islands, whether they be from Puerto Rico or they be from Jamaica, when someone is born or even in Mexico, when someone is born on the mainland, they speak to you. They accept you as their own, but they also classify you as an outsider. That's all what was happening. And Christianity purposely deletes that information, omits that fact. Okay? And the Lord changes not. He's only for Israel. Amos 3 and 2. And I'm going to read, Lord's one, I'm going to read this chat GP conversation to really solidify this information as of lately. But this is Amos 3 and 2. It says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. So Israel is being punished and put on the bottom among all the places that they got scattered to. They wouldn't have billions. They wouldn't control media. They wouldn't control government. They wouldn't control banks. They wouldn't have finances. They would not have a military. These people are imposters. All right. Jeremiah 16:19. It reads, O Yahweh, my strength and my fortress and my refuge, in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanities, and things wherein there is no profit. Now, this is actually talking about Israelites, the scattered Israelites, but now it's the duality of the scriptures. It's actually talking about Esau, Edom. These frauds who have claimed the heritage of Israel, because Israel is still scattered. Israel is on the bottom in every place that they are, with no voice except for the voice of us, the prophets. All right. This is Exodus 20. Slovakia. Exodus 20 and 16. And it reads, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And that's what these people continually do. They're bearing false witness against the Israelites. Even though your neighbor is another Israelite, but Esau is Jacob's brother. And he's bearing witness against his brother, being that false accuser, the accuser of our brethren. That's in Revelation. But this is number 24 and 20. And it reads, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up the parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Once again, you have this, I keep talking about it, and the beloved brother ICR down in Charlotte, he speaks on this a lot as well, that these Edomites are at war with one another. The Christians are against the Israelis. Or against the Jayish, not necessarily the Israelis, but the Jayish. They're at war with one another because the rabbis are identifying Edomite white Christianity as white Christianity as Edom, as Asaph, as they say. All right, and the Christians are pointing them out as being fraudulent and converts, that they're not the people of the Lord. So, Jake, you need to just step back, do the work, and just let Esau fight it out. Let them go ahead and eliminate one another. They're doing it for you. Okay? The truth is coming out, and it's not hurting. It's not hurting us, but it's actually hurting them, and it's brutally hurting them. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 27, and it reads, for evil shall be put out, deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which have been so long without fruit shall be declared. The truth is being declared, man. And the truth is that both the converts, the Jayish converts, are Edom, but so is so-called white Christianity. They're all Asaph. They're all Edom. Pointing and now they're like their Spider-Man meme. The Jayish are pointing the fingers at the Christian nationalists. They're pointing fingers at each other now. They're all Edom. You're all going to eat meat or eat ICBMs. You're all going to eat the fire and face the fire of the Lord when he returns. That is the brutal truth. Okay? What else did Nick Fuentes say? He said these people are still following the Old Testament. The Old Testament was not done away with. The Old Testament, the New Testament is the testament of the Lord and his disciples teaching the Old Testament. That's what it is. The New Testament is the testament of the men of the Lord teaching the Old Testament. Why? Because they were the prophets reborn all over again, as the prophets are back now. Okay? All of the disciples were Israelites, including Timothy, including Cornelius. They were those scattered Hellenista. All right? Those Greek-speaking Israelites. Okay? Acts 2:21. Because they always quote this. They quote the one in Romans, but they don't quote the one in Acts where it says, I'll just read it. Acts 2:21. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. See, they'll say that. But then you leave this one out. Verse 22. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yahushua of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you. See, he was approved of God, so he wasn't God. So that was a lie when he said that. Okay? He didn't sacrifice himself. The Lord sacrificed his perfect son. Then he also glorified and elevated Mary. Mary that's not scriptural. It says, ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yahushua of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by the miracles and wonders and signs, what God did by him in the midst of you. See what God did through him. Not, man, as you yourselves also know. So what Christians try to do is change the doctrine and make it about paleness. The Bible is clear. It tells you what the Lord looked like, what the Father looked like, what the angels looked like, what the Israelites looked like, and they completely ignore that. This is Hebrews 13:8. Yahushua is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He didn't change the law. He came to fulfill it, means to keep it, to establish it. All right? He didn't end the law. That is a lie. That's why, Paul told you that the law has dominion over a man as long as he liveth. The law is our schoolmaster. That's how we stay in good graces with the Lord. All right, so let me go to these, to some of these. Let's go to the receipt folder now. And I have those 7 bullet points. All right. Those 7 bullet points from AI. So this is all AI information that I'm about to read you. All right. So I asked a question. Okay. And that question was, how many Edomites were converted by John Hyrcanus, the Levite priest? And here's what it said. It says, okay, let's get it in focus. No, this is what AI says, okay? No reliable historical records indicate the approximate number of Edomites converted by John Hyrcanus, let alone his son John Hyrcanus II. The conversion was likely a mass assimilation rather than a carefully tallied one. All right. Then I asked the next question. You can see it. Question 2. All right. Was Herod the Great family among that group of Edomites? And the AI said yes. Herod the Great's family was from the Edomite or Idumean population that was forcibly converted, not to Judaism, but to following the ways of the Bible. The Israelites did not follow Judaism. Judaism is of the Babylonian Talmud. So that was some misinformation by the Hasmonean king, John Hyrcanus. All right. So, let's continue. Then here's another receipt. Now, I haven't even got to the good ones yet. But the Greek name Petra. And it's funny, I was in a restaurant yesterday, and this in a Jordanian restaurant, and this was on the wall. And Selah. All right. And it says the Greek name Petra replaces the Bible name Selah or Mount Seir gradually, not as a single specification, but change in natural linguistic shift as the city's Greek name, meaning rock, was used by the Hellenistic and Roman cultures that dominated the region. Because I asked the question, when exactly was Mount Seir's name changed to Petra? So according to their own information, it's Selah. Wait a minute. Let me close this blind. Okay. Okay. Then it gave me this information. No single date. There is no specific date for the transition because it occurred over time as a cultural and political control shifted. The name Petra was likely used along Selah for the period, eventually becoming the standard name. Now, let me go back a little bit further. Let me go down to these receipts. These are the people that lived in Mount Seir. Here are the images of them. All right, let me just show them real quick. Let you show, and then I'm surprised that this is still on YouTube right now. But you can see, you would think you were looking at Greece. These are Edomites. All right, that was the guy who was the narrator of the story. All right, and this was off the History Channel. I'm surprised that it's still up. Okay, but here you would think that you were looking at ancient Greece. And this is in Jordan. This is where Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, came from. His first mountainous home was Edom, Petra, Selah. That's where he came from. All right. Here's another one. The last one of that particular receipts. That's Mount Seir. That is where the so-called white man, his troglodyte home first. Okay. He wasn't a troglodyte from the Caucasus Mountain. He was a troglodyte from Mount Seir first. All right. So now let's go to the most recent receipts. Oh, here we go. This one too. I asked the question, Western Asia, is Israel sitting in the Levant? Does the Levant sit in Western Asia? Look what it said. All right. Western Asia bordering the Mediterranean Sea. It includes modern countries like Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine, considered a part of the broader region known as the Middle East. So they started calling it the Middle East when it sits actually in Asia. All that was to do what? To control the narrative. So they created this false racial makeup so that they can try to attach themselves to it. All right. So here we go. Now a brother had, and I reposted this video, but a brother had a conversation with ChatGPT. All right. And it's 7 points, bullet points were given. So we're going to put these up on screen. Said, what happens after the awakening of identity? The world's narrative turns against you. Yep. You'll discover that the world has been built on a grand inversion. The true children of Israel were scattered, enslaved, and erased from memory. The impostors have worn your name, sat in your seats, and claimed your inheritance. The media, academia, even religions and systems have been co-opted to support this truth. I know the blasphemy of them would say they are Jays or Israelites and are not, but the synagogue of Satan. This is a ChatGPT conversation. All right, let me read the scripture real quick, and then we'll jump right back to it. This is Luke 8:17. Or you could read Luke 12 and 2. They pretty much say the same thing. Luke 8:17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. All right. So these people are liars. Okay. These are the people of Ezekiel 36 and 5. All right. Maybe we'll read that one too. But let's get back to these receipts. Okay. So that was so here's GPT bullet point number 2. It says your awakening will be treated as dangerous. That's why, you know, they're anybody who speaks against the Israelis is marked, you know, with the anti-semantics, and you can get canceled. That's what's happening to this man now. They're threatening to take the rest of any monies that he have left, take his millions away from him. This dude was like billionaire status. Your God only knows how many millions they took. All right. Because why? His money has to move through their system. He literally bit the hand that fit him, but he didn't have the Lord on his side. All right. He as well ignored the true prophets. The scriptures come alive. You begin to read the Bible as a book about your people and not to someone else. Prophecies of exile, oppression, redemption. They are your history, your present and your future. Egypt becomes your bondage. Babylon becomes your captivity. Rome becomes your oppressor. Zion is your destiny. You realize the curses of Deuteronomy are not allegory. All right. They will happen, and it's still happening. Okay. The covenant reclaims you to know that you are Israel, and not just, it is not just heritage, it is responsibility. The Most High did not choose Israel for ease, but for purpose. You only have I known of all the families on earth. Didn't I just read that? Therefore, I will punish you for your iniquities. You awaken not just to glory, but to discipline, to return and repent, to be chosen and refined. And this is only for the elect, by the way, not all Israel. The majority, 2/3 of Israel is also marked for death. All right. Only the elect are going to be delivered out of this. Spiritual warfare intensifies. Once you know you are who you are, the principalities will move against you. Distractions will increase. Deception will come in the form of culture, religion, family, even family. Yep, our families turn against us when you tell them that we're the people. Why? Because they want to hold on to colonial slave mentality, a colonial what we call it, the plantation Christianity. They want to hold on to that. The system of controls, financial, legal, digital, will try to pull you back asleep. You will be tempted to doubt your identity, conform and assimilate, but the seed is already quickened. You cannot unknow what has been awakened. So those you can't you can try to close your eyes and go back into the world, but it's not going to work. The dry bones begin to rattle. You awaken. Your awakening is not isolated. It's a part of the movement. The remnant is rising. Ezekiel saw this. The Son of Man, can you prophesy to these bones? And breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. Those are the Hebrew Israelites on the highways and byways on the corners of America in Babylon, who in that same set of scriptures in Ezekiel produced the stick with the 12 tribes on it. That is a major prophecy, yet people like to scoff it. It is a major prophecy that when the Israelites wake up, they will produce a sign identifying who they are. And these imposters that cover their head against the law of the Bible, by the way, because they follow the Talmud and other books, they claim that they've always known who they were, which clearly makes them not fit the curses nor the scriptures in the Bible. Okay. Point number 6. The return is set in motion. The awakening is the first step of the second Exodus, the regathering, the restoration. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, thou shalt return unto the Lord thy power. Then the Lord thy power will turn the captivity and have compassion upon thee. Deuteronomy 31-3. The Most High is calling his people home, not just the location, but to him. Right. That's when it says, come out of her, my people. We have to, what that means walk away from Christianity, come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. That they have not been done away with. That will be disorder. That means that you can just do whatever the hell you want and then call on the false name of earth pig. That's what Jesus means, by the way. Look it up. Before you scoff and open your dumbass mouth, look it up. That's what it means. That's what it breaks down to at the layman terms. meaning earth, sus, meaning pig. All right. Now it can go a little bit deeper, but that's the surface meaning of it. All right. And number 7, ye are sealed for what is to come. When you know who you are, you understand the urgency. The beastism is rising. They're implementing that right now. Okay. Jacob's trouble is approaching, but so is deliverance. And see, and Kanye didn't focus on that part. At the time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in this book. All right. And that's repeated. That's Daniel 12:1, but it's also repeated in Revelation. Okay. So let me go to the book of Baruch. And I'm gonna read verse 6. Well, first verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God, the law that endureth forever. See, the law was not done away with. All right. And all that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Christianity leaves the law. All right. Turn thee, O Jacob. See, it didn't say all people, Fuentes. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, the understanding. Isaiah 8:20. That thou mayest be illuminated. Jumping down to verse 6. Ye were sold to the nations. The Edomites were not sold to the nations. The Israelites were. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath, ye were delivered unto your enemies. See, we were delivered to our enemies. Baruch 3 and 9. It says, hear Israel, the commandments of life, give ear and understand wisdom. How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thy enemy's land, and thou art waxing old in a strange country, thou art defiled with the dead, that thou be counted with them that go down into the grave. See, so you have to wake up to the law, statutes, and commandments. You have to wake up to who you are. All right. Last scripture, 2 Ezra 2 and 7. And it reads, let them be scattered abroad among the heathen. Let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant. That is why we were put in this position. And these small hats, these little hats, these imposters who converted and changed their names, Ezekiel 36:5, Zechariah 9 and 6, it said, bastards shall dwell in Ashdod. And Edom, Esau, shall appoint the Holy Land unto themselves. And they've done that, and now they're exposed. Call halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash, Kwam, Yasarala, Abba, Babal.